Good afternoon, learners. My name is Atrey Sinha. I am Academic Officer English from National Institute of Open Schooling. Today we will read the story I Must Know the Truth, Section 3, which is included in our Senior Secondary English Course 302. This is a story of Aradhana, who is a good dancer, and she is all set to inaugurate the annual dance show of a music school by her dance performance. And so she was happy and excited, so her family members. But everything goes upset, and we will find out the reason of her being upset towards the end of the story and how she reconciles the situations. We have already read the story in part 1 and part 2, and today is the part 3 of our lesson. In the section 1 of the story, we have seen that just before the annual dance show of the Kamala Devi School of Dance and Music, the narrator Simi interacts with her sister Aradhana at the backstage. And Simi accidentally crushes the flowers in Aradhana's hair while hugging her. And it leads to a brief moment of distress. And despite Simi's reassurances about Aradhana's beauty, Aradhana seems doubtful and looks at herself in the mirror. And there's a poignant moment where Aradhana acknowledges the beauty of the narrator beyond external adornments presumably for her fair complexion. And the narrative then shifts to a family gathering before the performance, and their grandmother and Aunt Pramila, accompanied by their mother, came to meet Aradhana. And the mother then reveals that the family has a special gift for Aradhana, which will be given today instead of waiting for her 18th birthday. However, the joyous atmosphere takes a turn when Aunt Pramila makes heartful comments about Aradhana's complexion and her suggestive adoption, and it creates an uncomfortable moment. Grandpa intervenes and scolds Aunt Pramila, taking her away. And Simi, aware of Aradhana's sensitivity, consoles her sister and dismisses Aunt Pramila's comment as the rantings of a bitter person. In the second section, we have seen that a harsh familial secret has been revealed, and that is revealed unexpectedly. And that truth has left a great impression to our narrator, and also to the person who is central to that truth. And who is that person? Aradhana, the sister of the narrator. Aradhana is shocked and shattered. She asks her grandmother to confirm the truth, and grandmother sends Simi to summon their mother. And the grandmother is sensible enough to feel that such kind of truth should be revealed from the parents only, and it is uninvited that an outsider of the family reveal the truth. So she instructed Simi to call her mother to handle the situation. Thus the story explores themes of beauty standards, family dynamics and societal expectations. It touches on the complexity of relationships within the family, the importance of self-esteem and the impact of hurtful remarks. And it also introduces various elements including family dynamics, societal expectations and the emotional challenges faced by the character as they prepare for a significant event. So now we will move on to the section 3 of the story. Within seconds, I returned with my mother to the makeup room, but Aradhana was not there. Where is she? Asked my mother. What happened? So here we see that within seconds, I returned with my mother to the makeup room. So the narrator Simi quickly comes back to the makeup room accompanied by her mother Sunita. And this indicates the urgency of the situation as they were anxious to check on Aradhana. However, when they arrived, they discovered that Aradhana is no longer there, and which immediately raises concern. But Aradhana was not there, but Aradhana was missing. Where is she? Asked my mother. What happened? Sunita, the mother, immediately questions Aradhana's absence, showing her worry and confusion. and she wants to understand what has transpired in the short time they were away. And this reflects her anxiety and desperation to find Aradhana and ensure she is all right. She is mother after all. Then Aunt Pramila's eyes were hard. She left through this door, Sunita, and it's your fault. You should have told that child earlier. Aunt Pramila's eyes were hard. So this phrase describes Aunt Pramila's expression as stern and unyielding. And this indicates her firm stance and lack of empathy at this moment. She left through this door, Sunita. So Aunt Pramila harshly informs them, especially the mother Sunita, that Aradhana has left through a specific door. And it's your fault. You should have told that child earlier. So Aunt Pramila directly blames Sunita for Aradhana's emotional state and subsequent departure. And she believes that Sunita should have told Aradhana the truth about her adoption much earlier. And this accusation highlights a long-standing issue or disagreement within the family about when and how Aradhana should have been informed about her adoption. Pramila, said my mother in a voice that made my flesh creep. Why don't you mind your own business? For heaven's sake, how could you tell her now? So, Pramila, said my mother in a voice that made my flesh creep. So, Sunita addresses Aunt Pramila in a tone that is so intense and unsettling that it makes Simi feel extremely uncomfortable. The phrase made my flesh creep suggests that Sunita's voice conveyed a deep anger and seriousness that was frightening to hear. Why don't you mind your own business? Sunita tells Aunt Pramila to stay out of matters that don't concern her. And this implies that Aunt Pramila has overstepped her boundaries by interfering in a very sensitive family issue. For heaven's sake, how could you tell her now? So Sunita expresses shock and dismay that Aunt Pramila chose this moment to reveal the truth to Aradhana. The phrase "for heaven's sake" underscores her exasperation and disbelief, and Sunita believes that this was the worst possible timing for such a revelation, and it suggests that it has caused significant emotional harm. So here in this scene, Sunita with a chilling tone rebukes Aunt Pramila for interfering and revealing the secret at such a critical moment. Next paragraph. Pulling me along, she shot past Aunt Pramila through the door and down into the backward. And there we stood on the pebbled ground, scanning the empty yard helplessly. So, pulling me along, she shot past Aunt Pramila through the door and down into the backyard. So, Sunita grabs Simi and quickly moves past Aunt Pramila to search for Aradhana in the backyard. And Sunita doesn't want to waste any time. The word shot suggests that Sunita is in a hurry and determined, indicating her urgency and desperation to find Aradhana. Shot means some quick movement actually. And there we stood on the pebbled ground, scanning the empty yard helplessly. So Sunita and Simi stop in the backyard, which has a pebbled surface, and look around the empty yard for Aradhana. The word helplessly indicates their feelings of desperation and uncertainty, as they don't see Aradhana and don't know where to look next. And they were feeling helpless and worried. Now, Aradhana called my mother softly. There was no answer. Aradhana, she cried beseechingly. Do you hear me? Aradhana, darling, answer me. This time more desperately. So, Sunita softly calls out for Aradhana. Aradhana, called my mother softly. She is hoping that Aradhana will respond, and Sunita was trying to reach her with a calm and soothing voice. And this indicates that Sunita wants to approach the situation with care, hoping that a gentle tone might encourage Aradhana to respond. And this likely hopes that speaking softly will make Aradhana feel safe. But there was no answer. Despite Sunita's soft call, there is no response from Aradhana's side. And this silence suggests that Aradhana might be hiding or too upset to reply. And it also adds to the tension and worry in the scenario. And thus, Sunita's calls become more desperate, pleading with Aradhana to answer her. Aradhana, she cried beseechingly. The word beseechingly indicates that she is earnestly asking for a response and showing her increasing desperation and concern for Aradhana's well-being. Now, do you hear me? Sunita is trying to establish any form of contact with Aradhana. She is desperate to know that Aradhana is safe and listening to her, even if she is not responding verbally. Aradhana, darling, answer me, this time more desperately. So Sunita's plea becomes even more desperate. By addressing Aradhana as darling, she emphasizes her affection and concern, hoping to persuade Aradhana to respond. And the escalating desperation in her voice reflects her growing fear and anxiety as she was concerned about her daughter Aradhana. And the repetition of her call reflects her escalating fear and the critical need for reassurance. Next, the soft wind carried her voice away but brought no response. Search for her at the back. My mother turned. I will check the car park. Now, the soft wind carried her voice away but brought no response. This line describes how the gentle breeze dispersed Sunita's voice, making it harder for Aradhana to hear her calls. Despite Sunita's effort, there is still no answer from Aradhana. And the imagery of the wind carrying away the voice emphasizes the feeling of helplessness and the challenge of communicating with Aradhana in this distressing moment. Search for her at the back. My mother turned. I will check the car park. So Sunita decides to split the search efforts, indicating the urgency and seriousness of finding Aradhana. By turning to Simi and giving her an instruction to search for Aradhana at the back, Sunita demonstrates a practical approach to the situation, trying to cover more ground quickly. And Sunita herself will check the car park, and it is showing that they are now systematically searching all the possible areas where Aradhana might be. So she instructs Simi, the mother Sunita instructs Simi to search the back area while she goes to check the car park for Aradhana. And the imagery of the wind carrying away her voice enhances the feeling of helplessness, while the decision to split up and search different areas reflects their determination and the seriousness of the situation in this whole paragraph. Next, I turned and started walking in a daze, when suddenly I heard a muffled cry followed by another cry, fierce, full of hate. I knew then that my mother had found her. So finally, I turned and started walking in a daze. So Simi begins searching in a daze. The word daze conveys her mental state, which is foggy and confused due to the emotional turmoil and urgency of finding Aradhana. So Simi is disoriented and overwhelmed by the situation. And when suddenly I heard a muffled cry followed by another cry, fierce, full of hate. So at the time, some abrupt and unexpected sound grabs Simi's attention, breaking through her dazed state. And Simi hears two distinct cries, one muffled and pained, the other loud and filled with anger. The first cry Simi hears is muted, indicating it might be coming from someone who is trying to suppress his or her voice or is in a state of emotional distress. And this cry suggests vulnerability and pain. And the second cry is starkly different from the first. It is loud and intense, filled with anger and bitterness. And this contrast highlights the depth of Aradhana's emotional turmoil, shifting from pain to intense anger. I knew then that my mother had found her. So Simi understands that the source of the cries is Aradhana and that her mother has located her. And this realization likely brings both a sense of relief that Aradhana has been found finally and concern about her emotional state given the nature of her cries. And it provides a sense of relief and also highlights the emotional intensity of the situation. Next, they stood under a peepal tree, facing each other. My sister, tall, broad-shouldered, was looking down at my mother. Aradhana pulled out the flowers from her hair. She cried, "You deceived me, you and Papa, all of you. I hate you. I hate all of you, everybody, everything." So here Simi finds that they stood under a peepal tree facing each other. So Simi sees Aradhana and their mother standing under a tree facing each other. My sister, tall, broad-shouldered, was looking down at my mother. So Aradhana is described as tall and broad-shouldered, looking down at Sumita. Her physical appearance suggests strength and confidence, which contrasts starkly with her emotional vulnerability at this moment. And you might have noticed that Simi is continuously referring to Aradhana as only my sister. Hardly she calls her Aradhana, unless or until she is calling her, unless whenever she is trying to communicate with us, the reader, she is referring to Aradhana as my sister. And it shows the intensity of her love and care for her only sister. Maybe she is an adopted child, maybe she is not directly connected with her blood, but she is her sister. She is growing up with this knowledge that they are siblings, they are biologically siblings, and no matter what happened, no matter what reveals in this situation, she is her sister. They both are sisters of each other. So Simi always referring to Aradhana as my sister only. So Aradhana pulled out the flowers from her hair. So Aradhana, in her anger and betrayal, pulls the flowers from her hair. And this action is symbolic. The flowers likely represent the effort and care put into her appearance for the dance performance. You might remember that at the beginning of the story, Aradhana somehow was displeased as while hugging Aradhana, Simi has somehow disrupted her appearance, and especially in the flowers of her hair. So now Aradhana is so distressed that she herself pulls the flower from her hair. And the flowers likely represent the effort and care put into her appearance for the dance performance. And removing them can symbolize her rejection of the celebration and the performance and the expectations placed on her. And it's an act of defense and a physical manifestation of her inner turmoil. She cried, "You have deceived me, you and Papa, all of you. I hate you. I hate all of you, everybody, everything." So Aradhana accuses her parents of deceiving her. She expresses her intense hatred and frustration towards everyone and everything. The word deceived suggests that she feels lied to and misled, which has shattered her trust. I hate you, I hate all of you, everybody, everything. And this repetition of I hate you and extending it to everybody, everything shows the extent of her emotional outburst. She is expressing a deep and all-encompassing sense of anger and betrayal. And her hatred in this moment is not just directed at her parents, but at the entire situation and perhaps everyone involved in it. Next, I ran towards her. No, Aradhana, I pleaded, don't say that, please don't say that. She didn't see me, nor did she hear me. Her shoulders trembled as she turned away from both mother and me. So I ran towards her. No, Aradhana, I pleaded, don't say that, please don't say that. So Simi reacts immediately to Aradhana's emotional outburst. She runs towards her sister in an attempt to intervene and provide comfort and begs her not to say such hurtful things. I pleaded, don't say that, please don't say that. Simi's words are a plea, showing her desperation and concern for her sister's well-being. She is trying to calm Aradhana and prevent her from further expressing her anger and hurt. Simi repeats her request, emphasizing her wish for Aradhana to stop saying hurtful things. She wants to soothe her sister and prevent her from speaking out of anger and pain. She didn't see me, nor did she hear me. Aradhana is so consumed by her emotions that she is oblivious to Simi's presence and words. It indicates the depth of her distress and her disconnection from her surroundings at that moment. Her shoulders trembled as she turned away from both mother and me. So Aradhana was visibly upset, her shoulders shaking as she turned away from them. The trembling of her shoulders signifies Aradhana's intense emotional and physical reaction. It suggests that she is on the verge of breaking down, overwhelmed by her feelings. Also, her turning away from her sister and mother signifies her emotional withdrawal and desire to distance herself from the people she feels have deceived her. She needs some space and time to cope with her feeling of betrayal and hurt up. Next, Aradhana, my mother said quietly, we love you, my child, and believe me, we will always love you. You are our child. For almost 18 years, I have cared for you. I have loved with you and I have cried for you. So here the mother is soothingly addresses Aradhana. Aradhana, my mother said quietly. So the mother addresses Aradhana softly, indicating a gentle, calm approach in contrast to the intense emotional present. And the quiet tone is meant to soothe and reach out to Aradhana in her moment of distress. We love you, my child, and believe me, we will always love you. The mother reassures Aradhana of the family's unconditional love for her. And this affirmation is very crucial as it addresses Aradhana's feelings of betrayal and aims to remind her of the deep, enduring bond they share. You are our child. This declaration emphasizes that Aradhana's place in the family is secure. Regardless of her biological origins, it is a strong reaffirmation of her belonging and identity within the family. For almost 18 years, I have cared for you. The mother highlights the duration of her relationship with Aradhana, underscoring that their bond has been built over many years of nurturing and care. And this period covers nearly Aradhana's entire life, reinforcing the depth of their connection. I have loved with you and I have cried for you. By mentioning both joyful and sorrowful moments shared, the mother is emphasizing the emotional depth and range of their relationship. It shows that she has been there for Aradhana through thick and thin, which strengthens the argument for the authenticity and depth for their bond. We will continue the story, but before that, let's have a short break.
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो,
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर। शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर
शिक्षा और परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बात
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने, स्वयं बने, हम
Welcome back, learners. We were reading I must know the truth. In this story, we had already read that Aradhana has left the scene, has left the backstage where the dressing room actually, after listening to Aunt Pramila's remarks on her suggestive adaptation, and then as Simi and her mother is in search of finding her, and they have searched everywhere, and finally their mother have found her, and they are in some conversation. Mother is trying to persuade our Aradhana that yes, she is a part of their family, she is her mother, they all love Aradhana. Moving on, we were reading this paragraph. I have given you 18 years of my life. Don't you think that counts more than being carried 9 months inside my womb? Tell me, dear. There was no answer. So, the mother is emphasizing the time and dedication she has invested in Aradhana's life. I have given you 18 years of my life. It signifies her role as a parent and the love and care she has provided over nearly 2 decades. Don't you think that counts more than being carried 9 months inside my womb? The mother is arguing that the emotional, psychological and reactical care she has provided for 18 years, it is more significant than just the physical act of carrying Aradhana for 9 months in the womb. She is asking Aradhana to reflect on the value of the long-term nurturing relationship compared to the short-term biological process of pregnancy. She is suggesting that the emotional and nurturing role is more important than just the physical act of carrying a child in the womb. Tell me, dear. The mother is seeking a response from Aradhana, inviting her to reflect on and acknowledge the depth of the bond they share. And the use of dear indicates a soft, pleading tone, showing that the mother is not just demanding an answer, but is reaching out with compassion and vulnerability. She wants Aradhana to recognize that their relationship is built on years of shared experiences and emotional connection rather than just biological facts. So here we have seen that Sunita gently speaks to Aradhana, reassuring her of their love, and she emphasizes that her 18 years of care and emotional investment are more significant than the 9 months of pregnancy. There was no answer. Aradhana remains silent and doesn't respond to her mother. This shows that Aradhana is not in a state to engage in a rational discussion or reflection at this moment. Her silence highlights the magnitude of her emotional distress, and it indicates that she is struggling with her feelings of betrayal and confusion. Next, Aradhana entreated my mother softly. Answer me. I don't know, sobbed my sister. She buried her face in her hands, and all I could hear was the smothered echo of her baffled cry. I don't know. So, the mother is speaking with tenderness, asking Aradhana to respond despite her emotional distress. Aradhana entreated my mother softly, answer me. It's a heartfelt plea for her daughter to consider their relationship and the love they share. I don't know, sobbed my sister. So Aradhana is overcome with grief and confusion, and she can't find the words or the clarity to deal with her emotions or the situation. She buried her face in her hands, and all I could hear was the smothered echo of her baffled cry. I don't know. So Aradhana's action of hiding her face shows her desire to escape from the painful reality. Her cry, though muffled, reveals her deep emotional confusion and inability to process her feelings. Next, "But I know," said my mother quietly, "and Papa and Simi know." I nodded vigorously. So the mother is saying that despite Aradhana's confusion and distress, she and the rest of the family are aware of the truth of their love and relationship. Thus she says, "But I know," said the mother quietly, "and Papa and Simi know." So the mother speaks softly, which shows her emotional state. She is calm and composed, but still deeply affected by the situation. It is a way to reassure Aradhana that the love they have for her is real and consistent. And Papa and Simi know. The mother includes her husband, the Papa, and the narrator Simi in this statement to reinforce that the family as a whole understands and acknowledges their love for Aradhana. The mother is trying to convey to Aradhana that the love and care they have for her are genuine and that the opinions of others do not change the family's feelings for her. I nodded vigorously. So Simi energetically agrees by nodding. And this action shows that the narrator is affirming and supporting the mother's statement and indicates her agreement and her desire to show Aradhana that they all love her and that this love is not diminished by the truth of her adoption. And the narrator is likely feeling a mix of sadness and hope, and hoping that her gesture will help Aradhana see that the family's love remains unchanged despite the new revelation. "Look, darling, look at this necklace. Papa and I bought it for you. We want you to wear it today. This is just one way of telling you how much we love you, how much we care." Sunita presents a necklace to Aradhana, explaining that she and their father bought it to show their love and care. "Look, darling, look at this necklace." So the mother uses a gentle and affectionate tone. Darling is a term of endearment meant to show love and soften the conversation, making it clear that she is speaking from a place of care and concern from the deep core of her heart. And the mother wants to draw Aradhana's attention to the necklace. "Papa and I bought it for you." So the mother is explaining that the necklace was a gift from both her and Aradhana's father. And this shows that the love and effort behind the gift are from both parents. And imagine you and a friend had a fight and you give them a small gift. You might say that I got you this gift because I care about you and I hope we can be friends again. So in the same way, the mother is using the necklace to express her love and hope for Aradhana's acceptance. "We want you to wear it today." So the mother expresses a desire for Aradhana to wear the necklace on this particular occasion. The use of today highlights the importance of the occasion as she was selected to perform the inaugural item from her dance school. This is just one way of telling you how much we love you, how much we care. So the mother explains that giving the necklace is a way to show their love and care for Aradhana. The gift is a symbol of their deep love and care for her. And it is not just a physical object, but a representation of their emotional bond and commitment to her. Next, my sister turned and fixed her gaze on the small box in my mother's extended hand. She didn't move. My mother took out the delicate necklace from the box and pressed it into sister's hand. "Don't you feel my love for you, Aradhana? Can't you feel it? My sister whimpered pitifully. So here we can see that my sister turned and fixed her gaze on the small box in my mother's extended hand. Aradhana looks at the box with the necklace in Sunita's hand, and if someone holds out a present to you, you would look at the gift they are offering. Similarly, Aradhana is now looking at the box her mother is holding out. And extended hand means that the mother is holding the box out towards Aradhana, inviting her to take a look at it. She didn't move. Aradhana stayed still and didn't reach for the box or react physically. If you are in a heated argument and someone tries to give you a gift, you might just stare at it without taking it, showing you are unsure or upset. And similarly, Aradhana's inaction shows her struggling with the situation and her emotional state. My mother took out the delicate necklace from the box and pressed it into sister's hand. So Sunita takes the necklace out of the box and places it in Aradhana's hand. Pressed it suggests a gentle but firm action, showing her desire for Aradhana to accept the gift. The mother wants Aradhana to hold it. Don't you feel my love for you, Aradhana? Can't you feel it? So the mother is asking Aradhana if she can sense the love and care that the necklace represents. This question is meant to make Aradhana realize that the necklace is a symbol of the mother's love. It is a plea for her to acknowledge and accept this love. My sister whimpered pitifully. A whimper is a soft, sad sound indicating distress or sadness. Pitifully shows the manner in which she whimpered showed her deep emotional pain and helplessness. So here Aradhana makes a sad, weak sound showing her distress. And this reaction indicates that Aradhana is overwhelmed by her feelings and the situation. Next, ask yourself, said my mother, and if you are the daughter I know, the daughter I love, you will come back into the hall and get onto that stage and dance. Because she asserted firmly, nothing has changed today, nothing at all. Mother held her for a minute and then turned and left. So ask yourself, said my mother, and if you are the daughter I know, the daughter I love, you will come back into the hall and get onto that stage and dance. So the mother is urging Aradhana to think deeply about her feelings and the situation. Sunita tells Aradhana to reflect on her feelings, and if she is the daughter Sunita knows and loves, to return to the hall and perform her dance. You will come back into the hall and get onto that stage and dance. So the mother is encouraging Aradhana to overcome her anger, her distress, and fulfill her commitment to perform, suggesting that her family's love and her own identity should guide her actions. And this is a moment where the mother tries to resolve the conflict by appealing to Aradhana's sense of duty and love. Because she asserted firmly, nothing has changed today, nothing at all. So the mother is stating that despite the argument or any feelings of betrayal, the fundamental love and commitment in their relationship have not changed. She emphasized that their family's love and the significance of the performance are still the same as before. Asserted firmly. The phrase asserted firmly shows that the mother is speaking with conviction, showing that she strongly believes in her words. Mother held her for a minute and then turned and left. So Sunita, the mother, briefly embraced Aradhana and then walked away, giving her space to think. And she gave Aradhana a gentle hug, symbolizing her support and affection. And this gesture shows that while the mother is giving Aradhana a chance to resolve her own feelings, she is also expressing her unwavering love. Next, "Mummy," I cried, "you can't leave her alone. Help her, please." So here, Simi urgently calls out to her mother, asking her not to leave Aradhana alone and to help her. Simi is emotionally distressed and is urgently pleading with her mother to not leave Aradhana alone. She believes that Aradhana is in a vulnerable state and needs their mother's support and presence. Simi's words reflect her fear that Aradhana might not cope well on her own and that the mother's presence is crucial at this moment. And overall, it shows Simi's love and care for her own sister. Next, at the last paragraph of this section, "Mother didn't look at me as she answered in a dead voice, 'I can't help her more than I have, Simi. Nobody can. She has to herself see the truth, and the sooner she does it, the better it is.' She fell silent, but from the way she held up her head, I knew she was crying." So here we can see that the mother didn't look at me as she answered in a dead voice. So the mother is speaking to Simi but doesn't make an eye contact, and her voice sounds some emotionless. That is why it is called a dead sound, emotionless or exhausted. Her voice lacked emotion or energy, and it might sound flat, sad or resigned. So a dead voice. "I can't help her more than I have, Simi." So the mother is telling Simi that she has already done everything she can to help Aradhana. The mother feels she has exhausted all her options and has done her best, and she believes that further intervention won't change things. "Nobody can," she added. So this phrase emphasizes that the situation is beyond anyone's control and no additional support will make a difference. She has to herself see the truth. The mother believes that Aradhana must come to understand the reality of the situation on her own, and the sooner she does it, the better it is. So the mother believes that it is better for Aradhana to face the reality sooner rather than later. She fell silent, but from the way she held up her head, I knew she was crying. So Simi notices that although Sunita is silent, she is crying, and it indicates by the way she holds her head up. And the mother's silence, non-verbal cues reveal her own hidden sadness, and Simi can see her mother's emotional state without direct visual evidence of tears. In this section 3, Simi and her mother were in search for Aradhana, who has gone missing before her dance performance, and when they find her, Aradhana is filled with anger and accuses her parents of deceit, expressing her hatred towards them. Despite mother's heartfelt plea to remind Aradhana of their love and the years they have spent together, Aradhana remains unresponsive and hurt. And the mother tries to show her love through a gift and urges Aradhana to go back on stage and asserting that nothing has changed. Simi, the narrator, who was witnessing the intense confrontation, she realizes that the situation is beyond their control, and she sees that her mother is crying silently, and it reflects the deep emotional struggle of the moment. So that's it for the section 3. We will wind up the whole story along with the section 4 of the story I Must Know the Truth in our next class, and also in that class we will do the grammar and writing portions and we'll wind up the whole lesson. Till then, thank you.
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने हम
अपना दीपक स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने